Sunday afternoon in Nelson proved popular, with a full-to-capacity crowd with 160 people filling the Masonic Hall in Niles Street for a presentation by UK scientist Professor Paul Connett. I caught up with Paul to talk about why he was in our region. Well, welcome, Professor Connett. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you're an expert in this area of fluoridation in water and the effects it has on us. Is that correct?
I've been studying the issue for 20 years. I'm a retired professor of chemistry. My speciality was environmental chemistry and toxicology. I didn't want this issue, but my wife persuaded me to get into it. And eventually led to the publication of a book with two other professors, The Case Against Fluoride. It is one of the most foolish public health policies of all time, when we deliberately add to the drinking water a known toxic substance. We shouldn't use the drinking water to deliver any medicine, because once you put it in the water, you can't control the dose, you can't control who it goes to, and it violates the individual's right to informed consent to medication. And that's just the beginning of it. It would be bad for any substance. It's particularly bad for fluoride because there is no known use for fluoride inside the body. The level in mother's milk is very, very low. So nature is protecting the baby, keeping the fluoride levels in mother's milk very low. And water fluoridation removes that protection. Any family that uses fluoridated tap water to make up the formula is going to give their baby about 200 times more fluoride than nature intended. And now we're seeing the consequences of that.
So why are city councils fluoridating their water?
I don't think they're well informed. I think, unfortunately, for the few governments, most governments don't do this. Most countries do not fluoridate the water. 97% of European countries do not fluoridate their water. The few that have are so locked into this policy that policy is now king. And when policy is king, then science is a slave. They don't look, they're not reading at the literature from around the world. They're not doing their own studies. By and large, Australia, New Zealand, England, Canada, Ireland, and the United States are not doing very much research. Most of the research on fluoride's harm is coming from India and China, which have high natural levels of fluoride. One of the most concerning is that we now have over 300 studies which indicate that fluoride could damage the brain. That's very serious. We have 50 human studies which indicate that fluoride is associated with lowered IQ. Exposure to fluoride lowered IQ. So what I've been saying to the promoters of fluoridation around the world, we're waving here 300 red flags. 300 red flags that you may be putting into the water a substance that could be damaging your child's brain. Where are your green flags? Where are the studies that you have read and have studied and have given you the confidence to ignore all these 300 studies which suggest that fluoride is neurotoxic?
Paul, when I watch mainstream media, as a layperson who hasn't investigated the fluoridation in water, I see experts popping up on the other side of the argument, speaking through my TV, telling me it is all okay, and people that are just on some bender about it. Why is there this, you're considered left of field if you don't support putting chemicals in water?
The only people who think I'm left of field would be those who haven't read the literature. And unfortunately, the problem is that many dentists and doctors today only got one side of this issue at dental school. You've only got one dental school in New Zealand. They're very pro-fluoridation, and that's all their students get. Then when they've graduated, they don't have time. Most of them do not have time, once they've got a practice, to study literature on every subject, and fluoridation is one that they don't study very closely. And unfortunately, they then take the word of their professional bodies who are biased on this issue, and the government is biased on this issue. As I say, it's a policy that they're protecting. They're not protecting our health. And in fact, if I was wrong, That would be very easy for them, very easy indeed for them. They got hundreds of bureaucrats working in their various organizations publicly debate me. They would put me on the same stage with their experts, they'd have the cameras rolling, and every time I appeared anywhere, they could just give this videotape out there having crushed me. But they won't do that. I've been to New Zealand many times since 1996, 97. Never have they debated me in public. They won't respond to my book. The book has been out for 6 years. I presented it to the Ministry of Health. I went through it, the whole book, in front of 20 people. And at the end I said, look, 3 professors opposed to fluoridation have done everything you could expect. We've outlined our case. It's totally transparent. We have 80 pages of references documenting everything we've said. Now, this is your practice. It's your turn now. You respond to this book. You tell me where we're wrong.
So it says to me then, we've got to follow the money. Who's making money out of fluoridation?
Well, who's saving money out of fluoridation? Answer the sugar lobby. It's a massive distraction from the fact that tooth decay is not caused by lack of fluoride. It's caused by too much sugar and not enough dental hygiene. Kids have got to be taught to brush their teeth better. And in fact, we have 2 programs now, one in Scotland, Child Smile, and one in Denmark called Nexo, that educate both the children and the parents, and the children from the youngest age. They have home visits in Denmark, in this town of Nexo, from 8 months right the way through to 18, checking that they are using the right technique to minimize the plaque. They don't even use topical fluoride, only if there's a sign of caries do they use topical fluoride like toothpaste. But they don't have any swallowing of fluoride in their program. And you see a dramatic difference with this simple method in tooth decay in the little town of Nexo and the rest of Denmark. The rest of Denmark goes like this, and Nexo goes like this. So we are talking very basic, simple ways of fighting tooth decay, which don't involve forcing people to drink this toxic substance in their water every day.
Okay, so Professor Connett, what would you suggest to Nelsonians to do to bring awareness to our City Council?
I think you've got to do it on 2 levels. I think on the political level, you've got to insist that the decision makers read the literature, and we've got plenty for them to read. And on the other front, I'd like to see a positive campaign. I'd like to see a campaign which advocates healthy food, healthy teeth, healthy bodies, and a healthy community. So in other words, get the community to do what they're doing in Scotland and Denmark and improve the education from the very young, and take it on as a whole community responsibility and make it very, very positive. This isn't just about teeth. This is about the whole body. This is about fitness. This is about health. Because if you do the right things to fight tooth decay, you're going to be fighting obesity. And that's going to save this country millions of dollars on healthcare in the future.